One, I think it's important that people know about it. I mean, you know, it is a problem. It's a huge problem. As I said, more deaths from fentanyl than from car crashes and gunshots. That's a huge problem. But, you know, I think that one of the things that this segment can do is potentially educate people on, you know, maybe they, one, know that it's out there, so they might be on the lookout for like a family member, you know, a friend, and if they were having an opioid overdose, that they might be able to recognize it. So we're going to go over like what the symptoms of a fentanyl overdose would be. Okay. So you saw the girl on the show, or the news segment. She was basically unresponsive. You know?
Yeah, she looked like she was like in a trance.
Yeah, she's like unconscious, unresponsive, eyes open. That's a pretty classic like appearance of somebody who's overdosing on opioids. And I use opioid and fentanyl kind of interchangeably because it could be fentanyl, it could be heroin, it could be, you know, sufentanil or one of the derivatives. The other thing is that the breathing slows down dramatically. If you really go back and look at that video, so if you're watching this at home, you might flip back to that video. In that very first video, she had what I call agonal breathing, where she wasn't really breathing, but then she would take a breath because she gets like this huge respiratory drive. And then the second part, they said she wasn't breathing at all. Mm-hmm. That's pretty classic for opioid overdoses. Like your breathing slows down to a point, and eventually it stops, and that's, you know, how you die. The other thing is pale and cold skin, because your circulatory system starts to shut down, so you don't have like blood flow all the way to your skin.
I could tell in her lips.
Yeah, cyanosis. So that's called cyanosis, where your lips are like blue. Also, you can see it in your fingertips. Vomiting is the other thing. Like opioids tend to make people super nauseous, and so they might throw up, which is another way that people die. Did you ever watch Breaking Bad? Oh, did you watch Breaking Bad, Travis?
I do not.
I've
never seen.
It's crushing me.
I've never seen.
So in Breaking Bad, one of the big scenes was one of the characters' girlfriends overdoses on heroin, and she vomits, and then she aspirates that, and she dies. And the other character sees it, and he doesn't do anything. So that's like the big, you know, he basically let her die or whatever. But vomiting with opioids is a thing. The other thing is pinpoint pupils. So people on opioids, so like, you know how your pupils, like the black part of your eye?
Yeah.
Like if you take like stimulants, they tend to get super dilated, but if you take opioids, they turn into pinpoints, like almost like just like little dots.
Right.
So knowing those symptoms, like if you're, you know, out and about in the community, like you could potentially recognize somebody. You see somebody on the ground, you can't wake them up, they're cold, their lips are blue. I mean, it could be potentially an opioid overdose. And so it's okay, what do you do, right? So let's say we're out, you know, somewhere, you see somebody down, you know, you think that might be an opioid, what to do? So the first thing you want to do is you want to try to arouse them. You want them to try to breathe on their own. Mm-hmm. So there's a thing called a sternal rub, which, I mean, I'm not going to do it to anyone. I don't want to make them blow.
I know what it is.
Yeah, you basically get your fist and you rub really hard, like right in the center of somebody's chest. It's super irritating. Mm-hmm. So we do that in medicine for people that are kind of out of it because it tends to wake them back up. So you try to arouse them with a sternal rub and say things like, listen, if you don't wake up, I'm going to call 911. All right, and that would be the next thing, is to actually call 911. If somebody's down, they're unresponsive, then you need help. You need to get EMS there. So calling 911 is important. Next thing would be like checking their breathing. You know, it's pretty easy to see if someone's breathing. If they're not breathing, then you would want to start rescue breathing. Mm-hmm. So the number of breaths you want to give them is basically 10 to 12 per minute. So, you know, every 5 seconds roughly. The last thing is Narcan. So you saw those police officers giving her a squirt up her nose. Did you guys notice that in the video? Yeah. So that's Narcan. Basically, Narcan is a drug which reverses the actions of opioids, and it works very, very quickly. And you could almost see, like, when they gave it to her, and like within 10 seconds, she kind of started to wake up.
Yeah, her eyes were like blinking, and she started moving her head.
Yeah, she started moving. You can actually get Narcan at pharmacies now. Like, it's a thing. And so it's not super cheap, although I've heard that there are places you can get it for free. But I actually may start like carrying some Narcan around just because, you know, like if someone's about to die from a fentanyl overdose and you give them Narcan, you're literally going to save their life. Like, I mean, it's basically like flipping the switch from that person's going to die, that person's going to live.
Right.
And so, you know, if you know people that are at risk, it might be something good to have around your house. Lastly would be the recovery position. So recovery position is having a person be on their side. In case they vomit, you want them to be able to get that vomit out of their airways.
It's so like partying 101.
Yeah, that's right. We're dating ourselves. Like, oh man, our friends passed out. Turn them on his side. Like, we know this stuff. Like, this is like, we learned this from the streets.
Yeah.
I know. I remember. Yeah.
Except I don't even know what fentanyl.
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, fentanyl.
I'm not that straight.
It's like a new thing. Like, I know what fentanyl is. We use it like literally every day in surgery.
Well, yeah.
But I didn't realize the severity and the depth of this fentanyl crisis. Like, it's a problem. Like,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of
See, now
people,
you're saying fentanyl instead of fentanyl.
I don't know. Potato. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something to be aware of. So, I think that, the best thing about this segment educates people, lets people know what symptoms might be, and gives them some idea of what to do. Obviously, calling 911 is probably the most important thing, if you think someone's having an overdose. But, I mean, the things that you do before 911 or EMS gets there can literally save a life.
Yeah.